And that definitely separates the client who gets the most out of a coaching relationship versus people are like, oh, I paid money for that, but we don't do the work. It's the client.
And I think that's so interesting because that's like the two-way street, right? Of where it could go both ways. If you're coming in as a coach trying to fix, that's not right. But then it's the same thing when you're coming in as a client thinking, hey, the coach is going to fix me. Neither one is right. Those are both wrong. And I just feel like there's so much onus on the client coming in. And I think coaches understand this. But as coaches, we're also clients because we're being coached in a lot, in other areas potentially.
Yes.
Welcome to the Coachability Code podcast. This is your host, Jordan Ring. Coaches, you ready to be coached? Let's go.
All right, everyone. Super excited for another episode of this podcast. Today, I have Cathryn Baker here with me. Cathryn, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for this conversation and for digging in. If you could just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, that'd be a great place to start.
Sure. And thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I have about almost 40 years of experience. I started 2 staffing companies and sold them.
Amazing.
And so, clearly I call myself, I'm in my third act. After I sold the second company and stayed on a little bit too long, I made a huge pivot, and my husband and I sold our paid for house. I quit my job. I was still working with the people that I sold my company to. And we moved to a ranch in East Texas. And at that time, I also enrolled in a coaching certification program that took a year to get through IPEC. And it was like, I can't really think how much different our life is now than it was. And that was 2.5 years ago that we did that. And at the time, I was 67. So, it was, again, I was in my third act. And now I'm an executive coach. I do workshops and speaking, and brand new, I am on the path to become a chair for Vistage, which is a worldwide executive peer group and coaching. So that's it.
Amazing.
In a nutshell. And I live on this ranch in near a town that doesn't even have a grocery store. So
Okay.
It's
doing all
rural.
of that from that location. Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, Cathryn, I like to start with like a deeper question. So if you need some time to think about it, that's totally fine. But what's a belief you held early in your coaching career that maybe you've now completely reversed or pivoted on or changed your perspective on? Especially with 40 years of experience, I'm thinking maybe there's something, but yeah.
Yes. No, you're 100% right. And even though IPEC tried to pound it out of me as I started my coaching practice, I still wanted to be a fixer. So I wanted to fix things. And as you know, and all the coaches listening, that's not the role of a coach. But because I had all that business experience and feels like I've made every mistake in the book, so, I would want to, as you sit down and start the coaching journey, just like, I can tell you how to fix that. And
Yep.
And of course, that's not the way coaching works. And I really, really see that now. And I did find that early on. I caught myself doing that a lot, but I don't think that's uncommon for coaches, especially people who have a lot of business background or some sort of other career where they know a lot.
I imagine though that like once you can kind of get around that and then be like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm not just fixing them. I would still think there's a certain amount of like value you have in being able to like think of what the solution is. I mean, I would imagine because like that's why people are coming to us as coaches, right? They need something. They need some kind of direction,
Right.
some kind of information, some guidance. So I feel like as long as you're not going into it, oh, I'm going to fix you and I'm going to solve your problems. I think people still want that, like, and need that value of, okay, Cathryn knows what she's talking about. Like she knows what some of these potential solutions are. I just imagine like there's a lot of benefit to that as well.
There is. You're 100% right. And I know so many coaches that do this too. We say, when we slide into that maybe consulting mode, or, we'll say, okay, I'm taking off my coaching hat. If you're open to some insights, may I offer in my experience? And they do that because, the bottom line is you don't want it to be about you, the coach. It's all about the client. But you're right. One of the reasons I think some of my clients hire me is because I do have experience. And
Hmm.
so I can relate to, a lot of the issues that they're dealing with. So you're 100% right. But I always like to tell them sliding into that
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah. And I think even from my perspective as a client, like I have a health coach I've been working with for the past several years. And I've always told him, hey, if there's something that I am doing wrong, that I just am completely wrong, but like, and
Yeah.
that I'm completely missing, it's helpful to me. And he's very good at guiding me to think through that process. He's like really good coach in that way.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, I'm sure your coach asks just the right kind of question.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can say, here's another perspective.
Yeah.
Have you thought of it this way? And kind of get them to a reframe. But then you're really giving it is a little bit of guiding and leading. But at the end of the day, a good coach helps their clients. You know, that's why we're
Yeah.
there.
And I think that's such a great, that's such a great summary to that for sure. We're there helping to guide them through those conversations and what they're thinking about, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, Catherine, what I want to know is, it's a two-part question. What is your primary offer? So what do you help people with most often? And then how did you figure out what that was? I like to ask this question because as other coaches are listening to this, and I think a lot of us are still trying to figure out not necessarily what we want to be when we grow up, but like, how can I tweak my offer to be best of service to the people that I'm working with? So I'm always curious, like how people, first of all, what it is, and then how people came to figure out what it
Yeah.
is.
No, that's a great question, and definitely it's evolved, and I'm sure a lot of people listening are gonna say the same thing. So when I started, I knew I wanted to do executive coach. I
Hmm.
didn't want to do necessarily lifestyle, or I was certainly not a health coach. But I was kind of broad. So then I narrowed it down, and I'm still passionate about this, but this isn't really what I'm doing now, is that middle manager. I focused on middle managers because many companies ignore as far as development and
Hmm.
personal and professional development. They're the ones that are flung into the middle. Maybe they got promoted up without much else except, well, you can do this. And yet they're the linchpin between the front line and the C suite. So I really focused my marketing and stuff on that for a while
Hmm.
and did a couple of mastermind classes and things like that. Now that I'm really almost into year 3, I am focusing on people in their third act. It's a lot more narrow. And by third act, it doesn't necessarily mean age, but my ideal client would be somebody that had success and a previous career. And
Hmm.
that could be a 40-year-old who sold his tech company for a
Hmm.
gajillion dollars. But then you're like, what's next? Now what do I do? That was all my identity, like I did. I left
Hmm.
my staffing industry. I'd always owned my own company. And then it's like you feel kind of lost. And I wish I had had a coach in those early days. Of course, I have one now, but to help me sort out kind of what do I want to do. So that's my sweet spot right now is people in their third act looking to make some kind of change. Doesn't have to be a career change. It might be maybe they just got divorced, or
Mm.
they're empty nest. There's a lot of big life changes, but that's what I'm concentrating on, and that's what I just lived in the last few years.
No, that's amazing. That's super interesting. Somewhat people in like transitional moments and
Right.
those kind of like what next kind of conversations, or not necessarily conversations, but thoughts that they're having on what to do.
Right, right, and
Yeah.
then, as you know, I'm sure you understand this, that we don't always know what we want
No, that's
because
very true. No, we don't.
nobody ever asked me, "Well, what do you really wanna do?"
Hmm.
And, all I knew is I really wanted to coach, and I wanted to use my experience, and so but it's all nebulous, and you think, "Well, I don't really know." So, nothing is more helpful than talking to a trained coach, a professional
Hmm.
coach to help guide you through. You realize what you want, and then you make it happen, and that's what I love to do with people, with my clients.
Yeah, amazing. So with your clients, what separates the clients who get the most out of working with you with those who not necessarily like bad clients, but those who don't, those who like you go away working, you're like, okay, they could have, I'm helping them. They're problem solving, but maybe it's not as like as good as some of the other people that you have. What's the separation there?
That's such a great question. I wish the whole world would listen to this because it, and I mean, you know, because you've lived it. If the kind of client who goes all in and is
Hmm.
willing to
Hmm.
do the work, and the work in coaching is often things like self reflection, being honest, and being open. But if you have, and we think we've all had them, clients that they don't even think about anything that was said, don't
Hmm.
usually, you walk away with an action step, and they want the coach to hold them accountable, but then they don't do anything. And that
Hmm.
anything can be very small. Maybe they commit to starting a journal, or it's
Hmm.
their idea. But when you get clients like that that just want an easy fix from coaching, those are not, certainly not my clients. And that definitely separates the client who gets the most out of a coaching relationship
Hmm.
versus people are like, oh, I paid money for that, but
Hmm.
we don't do the work. It's
Yeah. And I think that's so interesting because that's like the two-way street, right? Of where it could go both ways. If you're coming in as a coach trying to fix, that's not right. But then
right.
it's the same thing when you're coming in as a client thinking, hey, the coach is going to fix me. Neither one is right. Like those are both wrong. It's like, and I just feel like there's so much onus on the client coming in. And I think coaches understand this, but as coaches, we're also clients because we're being coached in a lot, in other areas potentially.
Yes.
So we have that experience, but I just feel, yeah, the more that you can really come into that coaching engagement, yeah, being willing to take that on and be open. But yeah, have you had people come in that just aren't open to that at all? Has that been
I,
like, I go, some other people have shared in the executive coaching area.
yeah.
Sometimes people are assigned to them. So there's this like,
Yes.
not animosity, but there's this like, I don't really want to do this, or like, I'm definitely not going to like put my effort into this.
Right.
So I'm curious if you've had any experiences with that, and then how you've dealt with them.
Yeah, I haven't yet. I'm sure
Okay.
I will, especially from you're right. If the corporation or the company is the real client,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they're the ones they're paying the bills. So yeah, a lot of times, and I do know coaches that's happened to, and they've just, and then you're just throwing your money away like that. Um, but also, I do a discovery call, and really I like to do an hour before I accept or they accept me,
Hmm.
because you can tell a lot. I'm sure you know this too. You can really tell a lot when you start asking questions about how open they are to change, the real reasons why they're there. And if they say, I'm here because my boss said nobody can talk to me, I'm a terrible communicator, so I'm here, well, I probably take wouldn't take that client. And
Hmm.
I do know one coach who, the company, actually the client, or the company, is a sponsor. That's the correct term.
Mm.
So the sponsor was like, okay, we want to get rid of Jordan, but we don't want to fire him. So we would like you to coach him to get him to leave.
That's so bad.
That's a real
That's such a
story. And
weird situation.
isn't
Yeah.
that
Oh my
awful?
goodness.
And
That's
of
so awful for
course,
everyone.
everyone
Yeah.
is like, talk about how clueless the company was. But of course, she refused. She didn't take it. And I don't
Yeah.
know for a fact if she told them that's the worst idea I've ever heard. But yeah, it's not only is it unethical, I mean, it's just terrible. But I totally get it. And one thing, because I worked in the beginning when I left my company and I'm launching this coaching business. And so I used other kinds of coaches. Like I had one to help me with my LinkedIn. I knew that was going to be my marketing
Hmm.
platform. Man, she had me do a lot of work. And that was the first time I realized, oh, this must be what my clients feel like too, because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
she wasn't going to just tell me what to do. It was a mindset shift and knowing, on how to write. And you're such a good writer, Jordan. But
Thank
that
you.
doesn't come naturally to everybody. So, but I hold that today, to remember that feeling about, yeah, I got homework and I'm paying her to help me, so
Hmm.
I better do it. And I did, of course.
Yeah. And I wanted to refer back to something you said in the beginning there, was like that initial discovery call, spending that 60 minutes with people. Cause I think that's a very important note for coaches. And I think most coaches probably listening to this know this, but it's always good to hear a reminder.
Yeah.
And that like that discovery call is not just so that your potential client can learn more about you and that they can accept you. it's you're interviewing them too. And I found that later, I was going to say later in my career. Okay. I haven't been doing this like that long, but like I've learned through the years and through doing this that that's very important to make sure I'm working with the right people, to kind of catch any red flags, right? Like, and to make sure I'm going to enjoy working with them. Like, we don't have to send proposals to everyone that we have a discovery call with. And even if you're in this zone of desperation, you should never be so desperate that you're going to try to work with someone who's going to make you miserable, or you're going to have other issues with, like, maybe they don't pay you. It's like those important things to take
Right.
note of, right?
I'm so glad to hear you say that. And it's 100% true. And sometimes you do feel desperate, because
Yeah. Yeah.
the income flow may not be steady. But I remember there was a guy that I was talking to, and he was like grilling me about my credentials. And
Mhm.
at
I've
that,
I've had that I've had that as well, yes.
yeah.
It's very weird, yeah,
And
sorry. I
it's like,
just
well, that's really not, I am credentialed, and at the time, I think I look, I've had
oh,
4
only. Yeah,
decades of coaching experience, but I've been a certified coach for over 2 years now. But, and I said it to him like that, that I'm not new to coaching, but at the time, I was 1 year certified. But he was so focused on that. And then really, the whole conversation was so stilted. I ended the call fairly quickly and thanked him and never followed up, nor did he with me. But it's like,
yeah,
whoa, so many red flags right away. And coaches, no, and the more you do it, the
yeah.
better you get at seeing, because you're right. Who wants to work with somebody, even if, I mean, their money is as green as anybody else's, but if you don't enjoy working with them, not worth it.
No, I just think it's such a good point, and I'm really glad that we're talking about that because it's not worth it. I've taken on clients in the past that I've had to fire, and there's been like it's not like there's been have not gone well. And I think if I had noticed things in the beginning, then I would have had a better experience. But then I also think that sometimes this is not the case for everyone. Sometimes you have to go through it yourself and like build that red flag awareness through your experience versus even listening to Jordan and Cathryn talking about it on a podcast. They're gonna be like, well, yeah, it'll be fine. And then
Yeah.
once you make the mistake, then you're like, they were right. And I get that because it's very easy to say and to hear that as advice versus like
Yep.
if you're desperate and you're like, well, maybe I'll charge them a little bit more or like things like that. And, of course, anyone listening to this, do what you need to do and what you feel comfortable with. But it's important to note that, you don't have to accept everything that comes your way. You can have your own standards too. And I think it's important that we do. So,
I do too. But you're right. I'm sort of that ilk where I got to go through it myself, even
yeah.
though all the evidence is there. I mean, I was in staffing for 40 years, and I wish I had a buck for every bad client I took. And you're right. It's the same in any industry. Then you end up having to fire them or not get paid. And
Yep.
all the signs were there as you look back. But okay, so maybe all the coaches listening go through it one time and then you don't
Yeah.
have to do it
One
anymore.
time, just once. Um, all right. So let me ask you, Cathryn, throughout your years in doing this and your experience in your career, like what is the hardest lesson that you've had to learn as a coach?
Wow. The hardest? That's gonna be hard to pick.
Mhm.
That's a
If you had
super
if you had to pick one or two.
if I had to pick one, I think the hardest lesson for me was, what it is that not everybody knows about or believes in the power of coaching.
hmm
I guess when I first started out, I thought it's going to be easy to, 'cause everybody needs a coach. Everybody's going to be willing to invest in themselves, or their companies will be willing to invest in them. And that's not the case. I think that coaching is still, even though it's been around a long time, misunderstood a little bit as
hmm
to how powerful it can be. And, when you have corporate clients and they want to see the ROI, sometimes it can be a little harder to measure or it can take longer. The results are there. So I would say that was the hardest lesson for me. It was a kind of a wake up call.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And let me ask you too, like what areas have you been coached in? Could be recently, could be, anytime, at any point. And then the second part of that question is how has that helped you in you going through that become a better coach to your clients?
I've been the most common thing that I have been coached on and continue to be is one that's so it's very common for everybody, the imposter syndrome
Mm-hmm.
or lack of self-confidence.
Okay.
And so I can talk myself out of almost being successful at anything. I'm really good at talking myself out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But what's been helpful is to know that I'm not alone with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has getting coached on that one thing. Well, I'm going to attribute that directly to now going for this being a chair for Vistage, which
Mm-hmm.
seemed to me like, why would they want me? Any organization that would want me, how is that a good
I could
organization?
never do that. Yeah, that couldn't be me.
I
I
could
get
never
that.
do that. And all the chairs are going to be smarter than me and la la la. And when I just got back from our first academy. So it was a whole week, and it's all CEOs and leaders like me,
Mm-hmm.
people who own their own business or they're CEOs of big companies. And I had none of that thanks to my coach. I reframed it to I belong here. I have all of this experience and wisdom to share. And I feel that Vistage is the perfect platform to share that with. And here I am. I could not have done that, I guarantee you, without being coached. So, did I answer part two of your question? Was that?
Yeah, so you couldn't have done that without being coached. And then how has that helped you transfer over into like even just the work you're doing? It have you seen any like direct correlation?
Well, yeah, the Vistage for sure.
The Vistage. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure that, and just in my confidence in my coaching. If you have the confidence, the questions just come. I mean, you listen, you know all this. You have to listen, be present. And they told us in IPEC, don't worry. The questions you'll always know what to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
And I do. And I do see that now. So, but definitely, I'm talking 3 years of being coached on.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think I'd get it through my head after but it's years and years of ingrained thinking I'm just not good enough.
Yeah.
I'm not enough something. Uh,
I think, and I'm curious what you think about this too, but I think imposter syndrome is one. It's like almost the root of all evil for coaches. I mean, it's so common because what does it prevent? It prevents you from pricing yourself right. It prevents you from saying no in the situation we just talked about, like
yes.
saying no to the wrong client. It prevents you from working with the people you really want to, maybe because of that second part. I just feel like it can get in the way of so many things, and it's so common. I would say, Cathryn, like 90% of the people that have come onto the show have talked in some way, shape, or form about the idea of imposter syndrome. And I've certainly felt that myself. Like
You
I'm
have? Oh,
fine to
really?
admit that. It's surprised me, even the people that come to me and want to write a book that have maybe 30 years of experience. They're CEOs of multi-million-dollar companies. And they tell me, Jordan, I'm like, do I really have anything to say in this chapter? And I'm like taking off the glasses and I'm like, you kidding me? You have so much more right to say something about this thing. Who, if not you, then who else? And I think that's like the thing to remember, right? Like if not you as the coach to help someone, then who else? And maybe there's a more perfect fit for that client somewhere else, maybe. But if you're feeling that connection, you're feeling like it's good, then yeah, you're the person for them, right?
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
that's like a soapbox for me, but I just feels like strongly with
Yeah,
the
no, it's
coaching
a
thing.
good soapbox in your example about, the CEOs, big time CEOs they think, well, what do I have to say? It's the most common issue for all of my coaching clients. It
Yeah.
really is. And
Yeah.
then with that hand in hand goes the self-confidence. And then it affects how you show up. And so even the
Yeah.
ones who show up with this strong executive presence or whatever, but inside they're like, oh my God, everybody's probably laughing behind my back, whatever they're worried about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just something that never goes away. We call the gremlin that sits on your shoulders and said,
Yep.
you are not smart enough to be here or whatever, whatever crap they're telling you. But
Yeah.
you learn how to manage it.
Yeah, exactly. And keep working at it too is very
Yeah.
important. What would you say, Cathryn, has been your most successful strategy for growing your coaching business, finding clients, for finding a success? And I think you said it's still like relatively new, as within a
Yes.
couple years. But just curious, like what has been working? What have you enjoyed, doing, as part of that?
I would say, well, LinkedIn for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you're very active on LinkedIn too. And I was terrified then. I had imposter syndrome with that. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
I read everybody's posts and said, I can't write that, or, I can't, I'm going to look like an idiot. And I did in the beginning. I looked like a complete idiot.
My posts were terrible when I started too, and I had written before. Yeah,
My,
it takes time.
it takes time. And I mean, you just got to plunge in and do it. Mine were just dreadful. And same with my videos. And so that strategy for LinkedIn for, I'm a solopreneur. I have a business partner, but mostly it's me doing for the
Hmm.
coaching. That, and then when I started doing things like this, to decide I want to get on podcasts, and I actually love doing them. They're always interesting people to talk to. And I'm starting on the speaker trail. So I've hired a
Cool.
second speaker coach where I go through their program. They're really, really good.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I've yet to get a keynote, but I've done quite a few workshops, which is speaking and, getting your name out there. And my third thing would be someday you're going to love this. I'd love to write a book, be
Yeah.
the ghostwriter, but that'll be down the road, I think. But now with this Vistage, that's going to give me more visibility for
Yeah.
speaking. And certainly the Vistage program has a huge coaching component. So I do one-on-ones with all my members every month. So that's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, in response to that, like obviously the book, we don't have to go into that. Yeah, I feel that like people should, if you feel like write a book, do it. But definitely the podcast. I think podcasts, being a guest, if you find people like other coaches, like ask them if you can be on their podcast. Most of them will say yes, and it's just like, yeah. I mean, I think you probably, I think you said maybe you prepared a little bit for this one, but people don't need to prepare a ton if you're going to be talking about yourself and your experience.
Right.
You can just get on, and then you're jumping on my show. I'm doing all the work behind the scenes, and I have someone helping me. But it's same thing when you jump on a podcast. You're just jumping on for that half an hour to an hour. And then, yeah, you can share the episode when it comes out, but you're not doing all of that background work. And then people have heard me talk about LinkedIn for years now. I'm so bullish on LinkedIn. That's where all my clients come from. It's where all my connections come from. I'm so surprised that I can say that all my clients come from there
Wow.
in some way, shape, or form. But they do. It's a powerful place. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you don't have to post every day, but be there, comment on other people's posts, send direct messages, and then eventually start posting yourself at whatever cadence you feel comfortable with. And because like what you just said, and then what I said too, the posts in the beginning are not going to be good, but you have to start somewhere. So yeah, I love everything you said there. 100% agree with all of it.
Yeah. Well, you're a master at LinkedIn and just everything, the vulnerability and genuine,
Hmm.
and you have the perfect balance of the personal stories and then what's relatable to us and on a business standpoint and the books. And I've learned a lot from you. So I hope everybody that's watching or listening to this checks you out because you're the real deal. I go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I do a Sunday fluff post about the ranch. So I just do,
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's always
Yeah.
a video. But the video too, that was really hard for me to do in the beginning. And I was terrible and I was really wooden. And now I feel, thanks to podcasts too, it made me feel a lot more comfortable on
Another advantage.
their advantage.
100%. Yeah.
Yep. And you just get used to talking about yourself. Like when I was first a coach, it felt weird. I'm an
Hmm.
executive coach. Ooh, it felt like I was like putting on my dad's, suit or something. It's not really me,
Yeah.
but
All right, Catherine. I also want to ask, and I try to give this chance for everyone that comes on the podcast to say something, to jump on their soapbox, because I want to make sure you get a chance to say what you want to say. So, well, I mean, first, do you have a soapbox? And then,
I,
feel free to jump on it. We'd love to hear it.
all right. Yeah. Thanks for that opportunity.
Sure.
And my soapbox is the third act and how I see so many people. And again, it's not age, but it tends to be people in their 50s, 60s, where they're ready for a change. They know they want something, but they're afraid. They're afraid of so many things. It's risky. They're afraid of the unknown. They're afraid they will fail. They're afraid other people won't approve. And as I said before, sometimes they don't even know what they want. But that group of people, I just want to tell them, you can do it. And in my signature keynote is about that. And I tell the story about how my husband and I came to that decision to really do 180, which you know what that's like too, because you've done it.
Hmm. Yep. Well, a little bit.
Yeah, yes, you have. And you weren't in your third act, but you still did it. So, and how for us, it happened pretty quickly. Like when we made the decision to leave, we lived in El Paso for 40
Hmm.
years. And we made that decision to come here to the ranch. And 5 months later, all that sold the house. I quit my job, I enrolled in IPEC, and we moved. And we're like, oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah. So, I just really am passionate to let people know you can do it. It's there in you. And if you have the privilege of working with a coach to help you, great. But there's three things. And I'll be brief. I know it's my soapbox, and the
I'll
first
stand
thing,
on as long as you want. It's fine.
there's three pillars to that speech. And the first
Sure.
one is recognize opportunity. And in this case, this opportunity to live on a ranch came plunking into our laps. But you have to see it. You have to recognize opportunities. They come all the time, but listen with your eyes and your ears and your heart, not just, an opportunity. Who said that? A lot of people don't recognize it because it looks like hard work, and it is. But so you recognize the opportunity. Then the next part is assess the risks. We have to do that and look at what's holding you back. And
Hmm.
so my husband and I did, okay, well, we'd have to sell our house. Well, okay. What's the worst that could happen if we don't?
Hmm.
Then we don't move. And, so we looked at all of those things. And then the third thing is what a lot of people don't do. This third step is to take action, to do it. And that, like, I know for me anyway, I had to really kind of grit my teeth and just say, we're going to do it. And you know what I did? Same with my husband, Ray. We told everybody who would listen. If you tell people, I said, we're moving to the ranch. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to sell my house. Well, I told enough people, like, I better damn do it. I don't want
It
to
better be
be,
in the real plans. Yeah.
it better be in the real plans. And it was. And yeah, there were times, couple of panic moments. And I do remember, our house took like 6 weeks to sell, which really isn't terrible. But I thought, it's going to go a
Yeah.
week and then this will all be over. And it wasn't. And I panicked a little at that. I panicked about living, a little panic about living so isolated. I've never worked from home before. I've always been around a team, around a lot of people. So that part scared me, but we took a huge leap of faith, and I'm so glad we did. And if I can do it, 67-year-old me with my 76-year-old husband, and we did it, and here we are. We're on our, it's not a working ranch yet. We're getting horses and we are getting cattle.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it's 1,130 acres, so it's a good size. But there's a lot of work just in maintaining. We live out in the country, and so there's farm fit and all that. You have to be. You just it was a completely different lifestyle, and we love it. So anybody that has some pie in the sky, you think that could never happen? Yes, it can. It can if you want it to.
Yeah. 100% agree. And I think that sounds like exactly what a coach, even if they were considering starting their coaching business, or if they were in the third act and they were like, can I do this? It's like, of course you can,
Yeah.
right? And even if you fail at first or it doesn't go
Right.
exactly how you hope it will, like when does it ever anyway? And you know that, like you're heading into
I
third
do.
act, like it doesn't always work out the way. Like you have that, if you're in that stage, you have that kind of, you're empowered, or you should feel empowered to just go for it anyway and take the action and do the different thing.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, my parents moved from their hometown just to be closer to, the grandkids down in Virginia, and they lived there for 30 plus years. They lived in the same house since I was like, I think 6 or 7 years old,
Oh,
and they were
wow.
like, "Yeah, we're ready for a change," and they are like, thriving right now. And I think it's important to, you don't always have to change. It doesn't mean you have to go and move and do like a different thing, but also there's so much that kind of change just brings into your life. I know for me, moving was one of the best things we did, and who knows where we'll go next. But
Who knows where? Yeah. But you've chronicled that. And yeah, even though you're not in your third act, it's still a really big move.
Hmm.
And you're right, to your point, it was definitely not linear. It was up and down, and I thought, "Oh, I'll get, 50 clients in my first month," and of course that
Yeah.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
Uh, and all the mistakes that I had to make, but I have learned to accept that, okay, well, as they teach us in coaching school, you're exactly where you're supposed to be when you're
Hmm.
there. And so, like right now, I'm supposed to be talking to you about this, and somebody's going to hear this and they're supposed to be listening.
Hmm.
So, to your parents, how cool is that? That they had the guts to do that. And yeah, now y- everything you think more, you have to move faster,
Hmm.
you keep active, all those things that they encourage people as they get older to do. Well, I don't have a choice. Seems like every day I got to learn some other software. I mean, I had to learn how to edit my videos. Now I have a little
Hmm.
help with that, but I didn't know how to do all that stuff.
Hmm.
If somebody told me, "Oh, well, try Veed," so I did. But man, does that keep you, I don't know, it keeps the juices flowing and it keeps you alive.
No, for sure it does. It was so cool. My parents visited us here in Portugal a couple weeks ago, actually, just to visit
Oh, wonderful.
the newborn twins, and I could tell they were exactly what you just described. It was so cool because yeah, they're in their third act, they're older, and they were so open to different things. This light, for example, behind me, they
Yeah.
were like, "That's so cool, I want that," and they went home and like purchased it right away. And I made them some different meals because I really like to cook, and they were like, "Oh, I need the recipe for this," and I'm like, man, they really, and I even said this to my wife. I was like, they are really in a stage of just openness to change and some differences, and they're really, it's cool. My dad's cooking now. He's like, I've never cooked ever. He's like, actually really like it. Don't know what I'm doing. And it was cool to see, but I think I didn't really even think about it as much at the time as I'm thinking about it now. But as you're describing that, I'm like, man, that's really the stage they're in. And it's just, it's amazing. And it's really just doing something different and taking a chance. Yeah, it's not easy. It has not been easy for them. My dad struggled at first, but then now is like, this is great, So it's
Yeah.
cool.
No, no, but the fact that they did it, Jordan,
Yeah.
is yeah, and there's so many people my age, and I don't know your parents, I'm assuming they're in their probably their 60s, uh,
70s.
70s, yeah. So,
They had me later. I'm one of five, and I was in the younger generations
and the younger generation, well, I mean, getting on a plane and going to Portugal, for
still.
one
Yeah.
thing. Lots of people in their 70s would not feel confident or capable, even though, of course, they are.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents are 90 and 91, and they have been here to the ranch 3 times. They hadn't flown in
Amazing.
years. And the first time, one of my sisters went with them, and then the second and third time, mom says, "Oh, well, I see. I mean, they take care of you. They take the wheelchair and get you on, and
Hmm.
there they go, 90 and 91, and they're flying, from Minneapolis down to Texas here." And so you're just never, y- you are your own limitation. Yes, people have, as we get older, sometimes there are physical limitations, and I am
Hmm.
blessed with health, and I'm not taking it for granted. But
Hmm.
still, there are things that you can do, and your parents sound awesome with the right
They are.
mindset. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
cool. I love that.
Yeah. Well, this has been an amazing conversation and a wonderful episode, Catherine. If you could just tell us where people can find you, I'll certainly put your LinkedIn link in there. But is there anywhere else where people can go to find more information about you, what you do, if they wanted to
Yeah.
contact you about your services, all of that?
That really, LinkedIn is probably the best now. I've got a new website. The name of my company is Avanzara, which that's a Spanish word for to move
Okay.
forward. I don't know
Cool. Cool.
how's your Portuguese, but it'd be different in
Hmm.
Portuguese. But so I have a website, but that's under it. I don't really want to direct people to that now. So LinkedIn, DM,
Okay. Perfect.
they can book a clarity call if they want. There's a link for that. And I just love talking to other coaches, and I could do that all day. And I really love being on your podcast. It feels so natural. And
Okay. Amazing. Awesome. That's really good to hear. Well, thanks again for being here. And thanks everyone for listening. And yeah, thanks, Catherine. Appreciate you.
see ya.
Are you still here listening to this podcast? You're awesome. I got 2 CTAs for you. Number 1, subscribe to this podcast for more. And number 2, have you ever thought about writing a book? Contact Jordan. He can help you out. Jordan at jmring.com.